As you know, we store the coffee videos in the coffee videos container in Blob storage. But what happens if someone accidentally deletes a blob from that container? Users can create snapshots in the coffee video admin application, but they can also delete a blob and all its snapshots. Then the blob is just gone. Blob storage has an option for soft delete, but instead of using that option, you can also just archive your blobs in another container. And this is what we do in this clip. We will create a coffee videos archive container and we will implement the logic to copy a blob to that container. Note that the archive container doesn't necessarily have to be in the same storage account. On the blob that was copied, we set the access tier. The access tier can be hot, cool or archive. When you create a storage account, you can select hot or cool for the default access tier. We have selected hot when we have created the Wired Brain Coffee storage account. As the videos of the Coffee Videos archive container won't be accessed frequently, we set the access tier to cool. Cool would still allow the Wired Brain Coffee company to restore videos very quickly. The storage costs for cool are lower than the storage costs for hot. But to access a cool blob is more expensive. Now let's do this. In this demonstration, you will learn how to copy a blob to another container and how to set the blob's access tier to cool. Let's switch to Visual Studio. Here I've opened the Coffee Video Storage class. As you can see, there is an archive video async method and a to-do command. Move the blob to the archive container and set the access tier to cool. When you scroll up in the Coffee Video Storage class, you can see here a new read-only field, container name videos archive. That field contains the name for the archive container. So let's scroll down again. Now let's implement this archive video async method. Let's get rid of the to-do command. First, we need to create a container if it doesn't exist yet, with a name that we have specified in the container name videos archive field. As you might remember, in the get coffee videos container async method, we create already a container here if it doesn't exist yet. So we can use the same logic, but instead of just copying it, let's reuse it. So we need to refactor it. I mark this block and I press Ctrl- to extract a method. I just call this method getContainerAsync. Now let's pass here the argument container name videos. And let's press Ctrl- to add a parameter to that method. Of course, the parameter shouldn't be named _container name videos. It should be just container name. And let's use that parameter inside that created method. Now let's just copy this getCoffeeVideosContainerAsync method and let's call the new method getCoffeeVideosArchiveContainerAsync. And inside that method, we use the container name videos archive field. Now let's go back to the archive video async method. Here we can just get the archive cloud blob container by calling our new getCoffeeVideosArchiveContainerAsync method. Now let's get a reference for an archive cloud blob. So on this archive cloud blob container, let's call the getBlockBlob reference method and let's specify here a blob name. I want to add a path to the archive blobs that contains the year, the month and the day. So let's use here datetime now with year, month and day. And now let's add a slash here and let's include the blob name. We just use the cloud blob that we get as a parameter and its name property. Now we have the reference to the archive cloud blob and we can call on that archive cloud blob the start copy async method and we just copy over the cloud blob that we have here. And of course, we need to await that method. As you know, start copy async just starts the copy operation. Now let's await here our custom method, wait for copy to complete async, and let's pass in the archive cloud blob. Now after the copy operation was done, let's set the access tier on the archive cloud blob to cool. To do this, you call the setStandardBlobTierAsync method, and as you can see, you can pass in a value of the standard blob tier enumeration, and the value can be archive, cool or hot. In our case, let's set this blob to cool. And let's await that setStandardBlobTierAsync method. Now let's run the application and let's try to archive a blob. Let's select here the programmer MP4 file. Let's go to Video Actions and let's click on Archive Video. The message pops up that the video was archived. So now let's go to the Azure portal. Here you can see the containers of the Wired Brain Coffee storage account. Now let's click on Refresh and you can see the new Coffee Videos archive container. Let's click on that container and you can see here the 2018 folder of our Blob. That's a virtual directory. When I click on it, you can see 10 for October, and when I click on 10, you can see 18 for the 18th of October. And when I click on 18, you can see the archived programmer MP4 file. And as you can see, the access tier for this blob is set to cool. When you go to the details of the blob, you can see here the access tier, and you could also change it here manually in the Azure portal. Great! So now users of the Coffee Video Admin application can archive their videos to the Coffee Videos archive container. Important to mention is that when you copy a blob, the metadata is copied, all the properties of the blob, and of course the blob itself. But a copy won't include the snapshots. So here we have just the programmer MP4 file, but no snapshot. Now let's wrap up what you have learned in this module.